this is going to be our opening video. Let's see how this goes. It's going to be a fun experiment. My first time trying to do learning online on YouTube videos. So we're going to do this. This is going to be about Rav Kook's books. Rav Kook has a series called Orot, HaKodesh. His writing is really intense. It's actually really interesting that it's Hebrew writing that really captures the complexity of all the ideas he's trying to share. Sometimes when you share things in English, you have to kind of explain one thing in like 20 different ways just to sort of get it across because there's so much complexity and nuance that goes on. And the complexity and nuance is really about precision. In other words, if you really want to understand another person or anything really, you have to really understand it in a very precise way. And anytime that you're not precise, that means your definitions end up being more generalized, and that causes a lot of conflict. In fact, pretty much every disagreement stems from we call misunderstandings. That really means misapplication of nuance, because there is something which I think, and you're just not really seeing how I'm applying it in a clear way. You can understand you could disagree with what I say, but very often instead arguments stem from not just disagreements, but they stem from just simple misunderstandings. So that's really what this is about. His language is a lot of nuance and complexity, and Orot HaKodesh is really, I would say, it contains just a lot of really profound, deep ways of thinking about ourselves and about the world and about Hashem. And so that's what we're going to start off with. It's the first chiluk, the first part is called Chachmas HaKodesh HaPoeles, which literally means, Chachma means like principles or rules, like a set of rules that kind of surrounds something. Let's say if you're playing a game, so the rules of the game are kind of what define the game, and the way the game plays out is more like what's called the bina of it, the extrapolation based on the rules, how the particular game is going to play out. So that's the Chachmas HaKodesh. So Kodesh, usually people like translating that into the word holy, which is really not a useful translation, speaking of nuance and complexity. Kodesh really, the word means almost like something which is, if you're kadosh to something, you're dedicated to it. You are for that thing. So that's why we have something called hekdesh, which is you dedicate something to the Beis HaMikdash. That means that now it is dedicated to that. It is for the Beis HaMikdash for some purpose. If you are a mikudeshes, if you're a woman and someone does kedushin with you, then now you are dedicated to the man who did that in terms of the physical relationship side between men and women. And every place where the word kadosh shows up, it always means dedicated in some way. So Chachmas HaKodesh, so it means something which is, it's a set of rules that applies to, we're going to call it for now just the dedication or focus, and it really is talking about Hashem, but we're going to see exactly how that is in a little while. And hapoeles means that is active. To be poel means to do things. So here we're talking really about the set of rules that applies to, we're going to try to explain Kodesh a little bit more clearly, but it basically means when you are dedicated or focused on something or someone, then let's put them kind of over there, and you're going towards them, and then you are kind of like almost, other things are not on the same plane as that thing in terms of your perspective on that thing. When you're dedicated towards another person, so then they are a higher priority inside of your mind and your perception, and they are above everything else. So if it's your spouse, so you have kedushin, you're kadosh to each other in that way, then what's happening is that you're really dedicating yourself to them more. That means that now they are head and shoulders above or beyond, on a different plane than other things. So this is talking about that. It's talking about the set of rules that is active, that is transformational, that really makes things happen, that are kind of like beyond everything else. And now this paragraph is really going to see, you're going to see how it's really about, in what way is that true, that they're beyond, and we're going to explain exactly what the set of rules is, and we're going to try to explain all of that title in a second. So let's just read a little bit. You should follow along. You should look at this and see if you can translate it as best you can. It says, Chachmas HaKodesh, this system, Hina'ala mikol chachma. It is above all other chachmos. There's many subsets. There's lots of different sets of rules in the world: biology rules, chemistry rules, finance rules, math rules. These are all different kinds of rules. This is above all of them, and that's kind of what we just said. That it's Chachmas HaKodesh is by definition going to be something which is kind of a different plane. And in what sense? Bazeh, in that she me'apeches es haratzon ve'atchuna hanafshis. She converts or changes or inverts the willpower and the inner traits of the person. The tchuna nafshis means like the inner ways of being. Shalom dea of those who learn it. Lekarvam, to bring them close. Leosa haromus, to that same like beyondness. Shehi be'atzma mis'atzemes, that she herself, the chachma herself, it's referring to her in female, that she, the chachma herself, is so strong in that, or so is essence of that. In other words, people who learn Chachmas HaKodesh, Hapoeles, so what it does is it actually pulls you or changes you or converts you to become more like it. Whatever it is, So it will make you more miromam, more beyond or above in this sense. In this whatever sense the Chachmas HaKodesh is kind of beyond, so this will make you more like that. We're going to try to unpack what that is. Masha Ein Kain, that's not the same. Kol HaChachmos HaOlamios, all the other Chachmos of that exist in the world, Afal Pi Shehin Mitzairos, even though they themselves they describe Inyanim Nisgavim, very complex things, or very special things, Yafim Vatziliim, that are very, that are beautiful, or that you can kind of connect to and feel like, wow, this is a really special thing to sort of encounter or see. Ein Lan Osa Tchun HaMif'alis, they don't have this transformative capacity. Le'amshiches HaMahus HaAtzmis, to sort of pull the essence Shel HaOgeben, of the one who's learning them, El Erkan, to their value, or to their value, really. In other words, other Chachmos can't do that. They can't pull the one who's learning to their value and make that, turn them into that. And that's that. Whereas this type of Chachmas HaKodesh can do that. Uve'emes ein lahen yachas klal liyeser kochos va'atzmios shel ha'adam. They don't have any relationship with the other aspects of a person, chutz mikocho hamadai levad, except for his knowledge side. So people have their capacity to learn and to think. So that's what other chachmos interact with. Whereas Chachmas HaKodesh HaPo'eles, that means things that they change your whole essence and make you in your essence more like themselves, like them. Okay, let's see if we can understand a little more what that means. V'tama davarhu. The reason for this is Kikol Inyanei HaKodesh. All the things that are from Kodesh, that are part of that Chachmas HaKodesh plane, Mimekor Chai HaChaim Heim Ba'im. They are emanating from the source of life. And the source of life here, Chai HaChaim, kind of means the active reality that you perceive around you, that we'll call the world, and all the rules and ideas and principles and all the aspects of life. So there's a source for all those things. And conceptually, just as a mental perspective, you can think of it as the source is obviously going to be thought of as beyond the reality itself, because we're saying there's you can almost think of it as imagine like a sphere, and inside that sphere is the entire universe, and then outside of the sphere is going to be the source of that sphere. Now that's obviously just an analogy, because the whole concept of outside doesn't really apply outside of the sphere of space and time, because that's where space only exists inside of where there's a space. So beyond space and time, there is no longer going to be space and time, so there you can't think of the idea of outside, because outside implies space. There's in and out. There's inside, and then there's the outside, and those are both spaces. But just conceptually for us as an analogy, think of it as here is the universe, and then outside of the universe, there's going to be the source of the universe. And so you can think of that source as being beyond the universe. It's mirumam, it's above, it's outside, it's beyond the universe in some way. And so what we're saying here is all things that have to do with Kodesh. So they are coming from that source. They emanate from there. So they're really, in a way, you can think of them as not really of this world. They come from the foundation of life. That mehaveh takol means it makes all things real or exist. Mehaveh, like language of havaya, is existence. So it makes things exist. Etakol, everything. The yesh b'koach hatochen hamekudash, and there's this potential power in the material that is mekudash. Tochen means the stuff that is mekudash, that is coming from that place. Lehavot hamon bruim, to existify, to bring into existence. Lehavot, that's the verb of hoveh and havaya. Hamon bruim, many creations. Le'ein tachli, with no real end. There's no boundaries of what it can create. And that's really because and again the same idea. If this is the sphere of havaya, and we're saying there's a source which is kind of beyond it, which we call the Chachmas HaKodesh plane of existence. So then that's going to be beyond this thing. In this thing, there's limitations, because that's what space and time means. There's over here and there's over there, and what's over here is not over there, and there are boundaries and there are distances. But the plane of Chachmas HaKodesh, the makor, the source side of things. So there's really those rules of relativity and of boundaries. They come from there. They don't apply to there, because that's where they come from. So therefore, it has the capacity to create hamon bruim ein tachlit. There's an endless amount of creations that it can create, and some examples of things that it can do, that it has done. Limtoa shamayim, to set the sky, v'liyasei eretz, to found the earth, the ground. V'kal v'chomer, we can call that also matter. V'kal v'chomer, even more so, le'atbiyat surah chadasha, to sort of imprint a new form, u'mevuletas, that's really striking and noticeable, al nefesh ha'ogeh, on the personage, on the person who is learning these things. So that's this chachma. Not only can it transform all of the reality because it is the source of these things and it is beyond them, and it just kind of it transforms all things, it creates all things and propagates all things that are inside of this reality. But a person who learns those chachmos will also be changed by them, similarly transformed more into being like them, but through the interaction with them. We're going to try to explain as we get to the end of this exactly how and why that's true. All the learnings, all the teachings and ideas of chol that are not kodesh. Chol means that which is empty of that purpose, and it just kind of just is without, which is it's just kind of like it's floating without a particular dedicated purpose at this time. It's called chol. Ein b'hem zeh koch. They don't have that kind of strength. So let's say other fields of learning like science, and again, science is something which is very true. These are true fields. They accurately describe aspects of the reality within which we exist. The only thing is that they don't take that description and then link it all the way back to the Makor Chayei Chayim, which is what the HaKodesh kind of is. So when we say that the whole Torah, the Torah includes all of science as well, what we really mean is that the underlying principles of reality that lead to what we see around us. So science describes those principles, and science describes the what you see around you in very we'll call it kind of fragmented slices and different chunks. And then underneath that is a whole series of layers that is what's included in Chachmas HaKodesh, the principles that are underneath things. So he says here, these other fields, they don't create new things on their own. They just kind of describe in front of our intellectual process or capacity at mashahu nimtzav mitzios, what is actually found in existence. And therefore, they cannot make the learner of them into a new creation, a new thing. Lakor also, to kind of uproot him, to kind of like separate him from any unbalanced or warped aspects of his form, of how he is, ulahamido, and to sort of like now stand in matzav shel mitzios chadasha, to make him into a new existence. In other words, other fields cannot transform someone from being from their warped ways of being into a more whole or less warped way of being. Of course, he's not giving us so much criteria. What exactly does it mean to be like that? And he says, just to finish the sentence, so tahor v'chaya be'or chayim amitim, that can make you more tahor and more alive in the light of the word, in light of full life. And then you could live forever with that. So let's just give a little bit of background here so we can understand some of the things that he's talking about. So what we're really saying is that there's an aspect of reality that is in a way beyond this reality, and that whole and the system that describes that aspect of reality is what we call Chachmas HaKodesh. And you can throw in lots of things into that category, because pretty much anything which is not describable in scientific terms that we currently use, that's going to be included in the space of Chachmas HaKodesh. Now, just to clarify, just because something is not in the scientific space doesn't mean that it's not real. That's pretty much the whole concept that we're trying to stress here, which is the last bastion of confusion in the world today really revolves around the fact that we all experience ourselves as being something more than just what we can describe about ourselves. Because you're not just what you see is what you get. I'm not just this, at least I don't experience myself as just this body. Because this body changes all the time, and it can also get broken, it can get damaged, and we all wonder when it turns off, what we call death, what happens to us, and when we go to sleep, like where are we? And we all intuit that we are more than just our bodies. And take that even a little further, not only do we all intuit that, all of human life is predicated on that assumption. Because if you think about it, there's 95% of our focus is on what we call relationships. A relationship basically means that there's someone, some kind of self, that is using this body to share itself with the world outside of the body. And then I want to connect myself, not the body, but through the body, with other selves. And that's what we call connection. That's what we call relationships. And everything is kind of about that. And then when you're too body-oriented, it will warp the relationships. If you objectify people, or if you get very attached to certain aspects of your body, like your looks or your sense of humor or your physique, then people can intuit that it's going to damage your ability to connect with other people because it's kind of getting in the way. Like, these are all things that we're going to have to unpack more. But basically, the intangible side of human existence, the you, the self that we that we all kind of sense that we are, and that's kind of looking out through these eyes, even as these eyes get older and older over time, that's the beyond. That's what we say, the parts that are beyond the describable universe that we usually deal with. So that area of the self, the fact that it is beyond is what we mean when we say Kodesh, because by beyond we mean it is somehow on a plane of existence that's outside of the normal, and we're kind of like all focusing on that and trying to sort of, align ourselves with that thing. So what we're saying here is the more you learn about the mechanics of that aspect, which again is a huge aspect of human existence, the more you learn about that, the more you get in touch with it in a deep way, the more it will transform you. And another way of saying that is it will evoke you. It'll make you more you. So for example, if you're a person who your relationship with your body is warped in a way that, let's say you're hyper fixated on your looks, or let's say you don't like your body and you feel very bad about yourself because your body is not the way that you want it to be. So, and let's say you are so attached to that, or so struggling with that you have emotional issues because of how your body is and how it looks to you. So then that intense attachment to you thinking that you are your body. In other words, you feel bad about yourself and you say, well, this is me, and look at me, like who's going to want me like this? But the truth is that you're not actually your body. The system that the HaKodesh is trying to describe is that you're not actually your body. You have a body, and right now your body might not be healthy. It might need to be, trained to operate in a more effective way, to eat better, or to sleep better, or to exercise better. But whatever that is, that's not you. And in fact, until you realize that it's not you, it's very hard to ever change the way that your body operates and train your body to be different. Because when you think you are your body and you try to train it, but like it doesn't work, then you're going to oscillate emotionally. You're going to have times where you feel really good about your body, times you feel really bad about your body, and then when you feel bad, it's very hard to do what you should do because you'll feel depressed. And if you feel very good about your body, it's very hard to do what you should do because you say, well, everything's great, so what do I need to do anything for? But a truth orientation says, okay, ignoring the oscillations of my emotions and my attachment to myself as my body, let me just realize I'm not my body. And like my body's going to be dead in 100 years. And it's a body which is it's temporary, it's very finite, it's also very weak. And I have to realize that I'm not that. I'm some kind of an endless consciousness that is somehow linked to this body, and I can now use that perception to now train my body and bring it more into harmony with myself. I need to understand, well, what exactly are we if we really are just endless consciousness or some kind of intangible consciousness that is not, measurable in a real scientific way so far. So then what exactly are we? That's really what the whole Torah is coming to sort of describe. So this piece and this whole section really of Rav Kook's writings are about the unique nature of learning about you. But the real parts of you that are usually difficult to discuss are hidden in many ways and are things that we intuitively know are going on underneath. And that's why you could also title this as really just the search for self-awareness. So these teachings are really about that. They're about discovering ourselves in a more full, real way. And when you discover yourself in that kind of way, when you learn these things, what it does is it really transforms your relationship with yourself, and you can actually remake yourself. So you can think of it almost, just to end off with this last analogy, you can think of it as if the HaKodesh is you being beyond the describable things. So if you think of your body as being, part of the scientific world, it's a describable entity. We can describe what it is and what size it is and what its issues are and its diseases and its colors and shapes. So you can describe your body, but you are not your body. You are beyond your body. So then what happens is anytime that you are trapped inside of your body because you hyper-identify yourself as your body, so then you will have issues. And then what this teaches you to do is to learn to realize what you are and raise yourself up above and become beyond your body. And you can then look at your body from above and say, oh, I can actually change myself because I'm self-aware. I can transform my relationship with my body and the way I think about myself and become something different than what I currently associate or identify myself as. So there's a lot of implications there, but that's the basic idea first, is that there's a world of Chachma called Chachmas HaKodesh. It's a world of learning of principles, of ideas that relate to the beyond aspect of the human existence and human experience. And then this is really supposed to be helping us to, as we learn it, to unlock that and clarify that. And we're going to go to the next piece. We're going to see more about how that works.